So you want to know how I became a real estate broker? Well, your dad and I got married in 1975, and your grandfather asked your dad what did he want as a wedding gift. And your dad said he wanted to start investing in property. So your granddaddy and his second wife went and bought us the triplex in Inglewood. After that, your dad secured a job, city of LA, or maybe had been in the job initially. And I was working at Sears as a management trainee, which was very lucrative because as a management trainee, you come straight out of college, you start working as the manager in the different departments and move around different departments. And it was found out that my salary was higher than most of the people there, and they were not happy with that because most of them went straight from high school and didn't have the opportunity to go to college. So, long story short, by my 3.5 years working for Sears, I had Kalisha, then I had you, and each time that I had a baby, I asked for time off, but they told me that if I took additional time off, I would lose my position as a management trainee. That's what they told me for Kalisha. By the time I had you, I asked a different manager, and she told me, oh, nothing would happen. So I took that time out. When I came back, she said, haha, you're just a regular employee. And I immediately quit and went home and took care of you and Kalisha. And then your dad was still working with the city of LA, and I was taking care of the property. Because by then, your dad had bought the 10 units because, too, while I worked, all my money that I made, I saved, looking forward to pay for yours and Kalisha's college education. That's what I had in my mind. That's how I was going to pay for you guys to go to school. All the money that I made, I was going to save it. But every time I looked around, Daddy was taking that money and buying a building and buying another building. So by the time he left the city of LA, we had quite a few buildings, but he left and he came home. He said, Cap, we don't have any money. And I told him, I said, we didn't have any money while you were working because, of course, he was paying for $1,000 suits with embroidered initials. Anyway, over the time that he was...
Mom's in my room.
Over the time that he was... when he left the city of LA, then he said he got with some people and they started a property management company. And he was doing all the work. They weren't around. So then he took on the company completely. And then I was looking and I said, oh, you have to pay somebody to be a broker. He said, yes. I said, well, I can go to school and become a broker. I had been doing all the property management, had to do the evictions, what have you, pick up the rent. I was handling everything. So when I wrote my application in for the Department of Real Estate, I let them know I've already been doing this and I just need to get the license, become a broker. And I just had to take 8 courses and then I became a broker. And they applied my college credit towards it too. So that's pretty much the reason why I became a broker, to justify our business. However, I knew I hated property management. I did not like it. But I've dealt with it all this time. And it saps your life for the most part. Because, wanting to be creative, you're not going to be that creative because your time gets interrupted with problems here and there. So any other questions?
So you became a broker because you had the experience. You applied to California
Department of Real Estate.
The Department of Real Estate, DRE, DRE, and so your experience was applicable. They accepted it. You took the courses.
And my units from college.
Your courses
all went hand in hand.
All right. So the education went hand in hand with your
experience of handling our own evictions, our own Property management, dealing with the tenants.
Okay. And then that's how you became a broker.
Right.
In what year did you become a broker?
1998.
That was the same year Auntie Didi passed.
Right.
I was a sophomore in university at that time.
And up until that time, we were pretty much having a lot of problems financially, because I wasn't making money and Daddy wasn't making that much money. He had different contracts here and there, but not to be making that much money. And even before that time, shoot, I would be sitting at home like on 54th Street, see somebody out there taking pictures of the building. Why are they taking pictures? About to go into foreclosure. Oh my goodness. So we went belly up a couple of times, but we got saved by Grandma Inez and Grandma Florence one time even.
So I remember when we were living here, and I think the lights and gas were out, and
For a whole year. What happened was that somebody on 41st Drive, they were on drugs, and they ran our water bill up extremely high.
Whoa.
The city will not turn off the power of the building, of the tenants,
Wow.
when you can't pay the bill. They will turn off the power of the homeowner.
Oh.
So that's what they did. And so first, Daddy was robbing Peter to pay Paul, juggling the bills, trying to pay all the mortgages, pay the taxes, and always paying taxes late. Oh my goodness. Paying them late, you got to pay penalty fees plus the late fees and all. So, and I'm like, oh, don't do that. No matter what, we were always like that. So then what happened was that when I got in the office, I started looking at our bills. I said, look, our phone bill doesn't have to be this high. I called up and rearranged the phone and everything, and we pretty much didn't have phones for a week. And Daddy said, don't ever do that again. But it was more beneficial because the cost of the phones went down. Then I said, later I told him, impound the taxes and the insurance. Impound them. That means that when you buy a building and you pay the mortgage, you also additionally pay every month money towards the insurance and the taxes so that they pay them, and you don't have to be bothered with them. They impound it. They take extra money towards paying those things, and you don't have to be worried with it. Eventually, your daddy understood that, and that happened. Then, what else did I? Well, once I got in the office, Daddy was able to secure an office space at Alpha. And Alpha was a company that they had a lot of low-income housing. And they were really waiting until it was like 30 years later that they would no longer be low-income houses. They would go up to market rent. And they pretty much have done that. Nowadays, when people build a building from the ground up or buy a building, they don't have that kind of contract. The city's not looking out for these homeless people like they were doing years ago. They had more low-income housing way back then. In addition to Section 8. They have more Section 8, it seems like now, than low-income housing.
I have a question with regard to your education. So you and Dad both have bachelor's degrees, but you took the steps to become a broker, which means that you took those 8 courses and you applied to become a broker. And having that license, in some sense, you can say that an educational goal, that in some sense you could say that you have reached an educational goal that Dad has not.
Well, Dad tried to go for his master's, but he wanted international business, and he was not international enough, so he didn't get his master's.
Okay, but in terms, if we were to, I guess, if we were to be petty, we could say that being a broker is a notch above Dad.
Okay.
And if I were to say that, then I would say that is in line with the idea or the fact that black women, African American women in the United States, black women in America are of a highly educated class. Black women outpace any other group as far as education goes. So your accomplishment is an example of that. But even in my life, if you look at Kalisha's examples of having
PhD.
Yeah, well, not a PhD, but a educational doctorate, and a doctor. She does have her doctorate. Having attended the most prestigious all-girls school in America, Spelman College, and then USC and George Washington University. All of these schools have name recognition. You hear them and you know them immediately. And all of that education establishes, Kalisha, my sister, as, or defines her, puts her in the category and highlights exactly what statistics tell us, that black women outpace black men as far as education goes. And in the same sense, you have taken a leadership position in our company, in our family company, that required you to go above and beyond the educational requirements that Dad has. Okay? So, with that being said, what do you think about, let's see, Kalisha has brought it to my attention that, well, I don't know, I forgot my question at this point. What would you say about that?
What?
Maybe the question will
women?
come back to me.
Black women being highly educated and taking a higher role than, well.
Okay. What I wanted to ask, I remember. Do you feel that your success and your responsibility, and do you think that as a woman, as a black woman, even though you have outstripped, your mate, and as even my sister has outstripped me, but as that is a trend, that is something that is happening, do you feel that even though you have that power, that educational achievement, that you do have to regress, sort of subjugate, defer
to my husband,
to your husband?
I think I do, because he, but we're good partners. We're a good partnership, because what he doesn't know, I know. What I know, what I don't know, he knows. I mean, he doesn't mind taking control of a lot of things that if something happened to him, I would have to take control, and I would just have to do it. And I'm sure I would pass it on to you to do at that point.
And how about with interaction with your male brothers?
My male brothers, it's interesting to look at them, because one day I was over on Adams, and I understood that Weldon, Robert, and Lim were all upstairs in Robert's apartment, and I wanted to go see my brothers. And I went upstairs, and I was totally disappointed. They were playing dominoes, smoking weed, what have you, drinking. And I was like, oh, well, this is what they do with their free time. Well, that's not what we do with our free time, so I hurried up and got out of there.
Okay.
I was totally disappointed.
Now, okay, so when I asked that question a minute ago about your education outstripping the black male, I specifically went to Dad, and I talked about the difference in education. But with you and Dad, as you mentioned, well, first, your educational level, both having bachelor's degrees, is equal. And as you mentioned, in the relationship, you're basically equal. And then I went on to say that the real estate license or the broker's license puts you at a notch above. But what what you just mentioned is the difference between you and your brothers. And those relationships,
Well,
those relationships really define or really show the gap in education between you and your siblings.
Well, say for instance, my brother.
It's the same with me and Kalisha.
Okay, my brother Bobby was not raised with us, but he was always doing a resume showing that he had higher education than what he had. He didn't even finish his BA anywhere. But he wrote that he had a master's, a PhD, you name it, and he was getting all kinds of jobs everywhere. Then Weldon, the first couple of jobs I knew he was a teacher assistant at one time, and then he fell in love with this teacher's daughter, and he wanted to commit suicide because the love wasn't being returned, because of course her parents didn't want her to marry somebody out of the projects. Then he went on and married Lily and had his kid and helped raise her other two kids. And he left the city of LA because he was working at Ralph's, and they had him on video smoking weed. So he lost that job. He went to Texas and stayed there for a while to recover, and then came back and then became a bus driver. But I understood that he, at some point in time, he said he was telling everybody he had gone to UCLA. I'm like, boy, you had never gone to UCLA. What? He likes to lie. And Vivian, she's still going to school now. She loves it. She's over at in Cerritos or somewhere taking classes. Math, science, child development, and art class. She says she loves it, which I always enjoyed going to school.
But there is and then Uncle Lim.
Well, okay, then Robert, after me, 4 years difference, he was a straight A student. Robert, Sissy, Dee, Joe, Lim, all them. Lim, not Lim so much, because Lim said he knew he could be a rocket scientist. But because Mama divorced his daddy, he rebelled. What kind of thinking is that? To kill you off your life? But even though when he was younger, he would be going in the community, like wherever, and sucking his thumb all the time. When I grow up, I'm going to be just like them. Talking about the bums on the sides of the freeway. Oh, my Lord. I was so concerned. Now I don't care so much. I'm more older. It's like, damn it, I can't save everybody. But now, Joe was one that he didn't mind hanging with me. He went to UCLA with me. Sissy and Dee Dee went to UCLA with me. Spent time with me at UCLA, and I showed them the ropes. Robert wasn't going to deal with it. He was in his own little world. I couldn't tell him nothing. Lim wasn't going to, they were doing their little stuff. And, but Joe, he knew the benefit of going to school. So he latched on, went on out there at Cal State Long Beach. The only thing with him was that his assignments and everything, he would bring them to me. I'll write his papers and everything, and then take him to school the next day. I'll be up all night writing his papers, and he'd go to school and take them. Never saying thank you. Even when I helped him buy the building and everything, I gave him stuff. Oh my goodness! Well, he was instrumental in doing a lot of stuff. He helped us a lot with our plumbing and what have you. He certainly got paid and all. But if you hear him talk, he did it all by himself. Sissy went on off and she went to UC San Diego and never came back. Dee Dee came up there at UCLA and did her thing. And eventually did all that she did. Lim, Gail, Pancho, they weren't listening to me at all. They didn't want to hear nothing from me. And it's a wonder to see Pancho now. He's a contractor, full-fledged contractor, doing his thing, raising 3 kids, and with his wife. Lim still struggling. Gail's still struggling for the most part.
When I spoke to Auntie Gail, she said that the longest she had worked at any given or with any given employer was about 3 years, over probably a 20-year time span. And well, over the last 12 years, I worked at the longest I worked for any employer was 4 years. over the past 12 years. I was 4 years at the same university in Korea.
Mm. Well, I worked 3.5 years, the longest anywhere. So mine is even shorter than yours.
Okay. All right, I'm going to end this video now. Anything to say at this particular?
Go and interview Grandma Gigi as much as possible. You know, because it's like they're doing that interview. I'm gonna tell them they can come to my house and interview. You know, set up an interview. They don't have to be paying to go to that other place. And Dee Dee came that time. They all interviewed here. We were, you know, remember them on top of the garage.
Yes, I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.